Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blue Thunder Pod AEW Edition. I'm your host, Billy Sullivan. With me, as always, my mom's favorite podcast host, and a man who's never been caught fighting on CCTV, Dave Olinovich.
That's good. Very topical, especially for the AEW edition, and referencing a guy who's not with the company.
Yeah.
Me. I don't work there either.
No. But I did mention I'm going to try to make the second part of your intros always pertinent to the thing that we're going to
It's like a
talk about.
TV show. You like how, isn't on all, It's Always Sunny, they're like the gang does this and the gang does
yes,
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or like Friends, it's like the one with, every episode's like the one where they, I'm good with that. But
also, we're wrestling fans, and like gimmicks and catchphrases are awesome, and we've known that forever because we've been wrestling fans
absolutely
forever.
It's persistent, weekly, sometimes multiple times per week marketing. Whose house? Swerve's house is on TV 3 times per week.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is why he sells t-shirts.
So this would normally be the part of the podcast where I say, Dave, what were your general thoughts on AEW Dynamite this week? But you know what? I like this occurred to me about an hour ago. And so I'm going to start this off differently than I would normally. So since we started doing this podcast, it's been absolutely amazing. One, because, we're growing listenership. You guys are awesome. It's seeming more and more like it's something that we're going to be able to do long term, as long as we keep at it, and that's all great and everything. But the main thing, the thing that Dave and I had talked about yesterday, just like kind of in our pre-show banter, was how it just doesn't get old or tedious talking about wrestling. Like with Dave, it's just super fun.
Yeah,
like all of it. I love every part of, I love talking about Doink and The Rock and Will Ospreay and Super Callow,
right?
CM Punk, all of it. I love all of it. The good, the bad, even the bad is fun. It's fun to me.
Bad's more fun most of the time.
Yeah. It's more fun to talk about. Yeah,
you can
for
get a little
sure.
sillier with
but
it.
I just enjoy wrestling so much. All of it in total. I realized today, while I was preparing for the show, that for the first time, and not just in general about the episode or whatever, but even about a single topic, for the first time I had the thought and the feeling of work. It's work. It's going to be work. I am to the point, and I actually think that most people are. I'm to the point where I don't know if I angry or upset or combative. It would be the wrong thing to say about the CM Punk footage that aired, backstage footage that aired. It would be wrong for me to try to say if it was right or wrong. Yeah, I think it was a bad idea. And I have further thoughts, but it doesn't really matter. Because I'm just so bored of that part of wrestling. I like the battle between two companies. That's fun. It's super fun. The business thing when they're jumping ship, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But every part of the negative stuff that happened over the past week or week and a half, it just made me feel worse, about everything about wrestling. The Punk does the interview, which it's basically a press conference because it's a 2-hour interview with this guy. So he is then talking about AEW, which it's not surprising, but negative stuff. And then Triple H has got a bunch of shots he's taken. And then AEW decides that they're going to retaliate by doing a stupid thing on air. And I all of those things. I want to love Triple H as much as I can because he crushed it with WrestleMania. He's replacing a terrible guy, and he's doing a wonderful job in making a product that I've been unable to watch for a long time. Very fun. Obviously, if you go back and listen to our CM Punk Raw promo review, I am ecstatic to be able to talk about CM Punk on TV. The dude is the most interesting guy in the world. He makes every show better. I don't want to have any negative feelings, true negative feelings about them. The Young Bucks are my favorite tag team probably of all time. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have negative feelings about them. The only thing that they could do to make me have those negative feelings are to do what they essentially just did. Take shots at each other, regardless of like what avenue it's in. And again, even the battle between companies is fun, but not this thing that we've been going over and over and over and over and over again. Like, thankfully, prior to the podcast is when it was at its worst. But like, it was like the footage thing was a dumb idea. I understand what they were doing, trying to do a story thing, but it was still obviously just an answer to the other thing. And it's just not fun for me to talk about it. I don't want to give too many opinions on it because I don't care. It's the most tedious, boring, like awful part of pro wrestling the last 5 years has been that nonsensical, like shot at one guy and then shot back at the other. It's personal stuff. It's not kayfabe, so it's not interesting to me.
Right.
And I want to be done with it. I'm angry at AEW right now because of what that one stupid little 9-second thing did to the rest of his show that I would have liked more had that not existed in it. So I'm pissed at them for that. I really want them to move on from it, but I'm not going to have that much to say about it because it's boring as fuck to me.
Yeah, well said.
I'm sorry, by the way, for doing a steamroller there. I just had all those thoughts.
No, that's the point, right? To the amount of opinions that have either changed for me or I've cooled on or I've heated up on. Like, that's the point. That's why we do it, right? Like, if we were just given the same stance week after week, what the fuck are we doing?
We discover stuff all the time, too.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know I like mid-90s WCW. Now it's like my favorite promotion of all time.
No, I wasn't watching any wrestling. I actually like kind of tapped out after the All In thing and wasn't back in until Punk came back at Survivor Series.
I suspect because of a similar feeling.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a bad feeling.
It's just not, because it has an overarching feel of like real. All right. So the two big overarching themes that I'm noticing is one of them is doing things not as their on-screen character, but here also too,
they're better at it. WWE, they're more seasoned. They're just better at taking shots without.
Right. But like also too, like it's not, and we talked about this before, like Robert De Niro, when he gets seen at an airport, like nobody's like, hey, Jake LaMotta. They're like, hey, fucking Robert De Niro, right? Or DiCaprio's not like, hey, jackass from Titanic. But you're Leonardo DiCaprio. What was his name? Jack? Come back, Jack.
Jack.
She
could have got him on that.
I think Mythbusters actually proved that he could have been on the door.
Totally. I mean, she was a rich bitch.
But like when you're like, as I saw Bailey in the airport a couple weeks ago, I wasn't like, oh, it's Pam. No, it's Bailey. Like it's they never get to turn off their character. So despite like Punk doing this 2-hour interview. And like it being a very like it was designed as a straight up interview, but like he wasn't Phil, he was Punk. He's never not going to be Punk because you can't not be yourself as a pro wrestler.
He's
Jake LaMotta
his character
doesn't
very much is like that.
But that's all of them. Like De Niro doesn't. There's not much of De Niro that's in Jake LaMotta, right? Or any other character that he plays. Like they can.
Yeah,
those are
more
actors.
Role playing.
Yeah, this is like wrestlers are method actors through and fucking through.
Yeah.
So while we can say like, oh, Punk, and I had this argument before, like, well, Punk was just asked a bunch of questions and he answered a bunch of questions, but it's all you can't throw away that he's being pro wrestler CM Punk because all of this happened in a pro wrestling company within a pro wrestling context.
With like a company man interviewing him. So it was it was what they were. Whatever he wanted to ask was getting asked.
And like I've said, and I will join his cult tomorrow, but like we got to be...
Me too, dude.
But I especially like have to be consistent with how I think about this like through and through. So you have Punk over here, which is the more sterile, I guess, reply, which is like, oh, we can actually say like this is an interviewee as, that's more like... not theatrical, right? That's just like you can do a straight up interview with anybody. And then you got the Bucks who are doing it within the context of the young Bucks on a television show building an angle. So
and they're doing a story with it, but the story could have been done without the thing.
And I'm going to totally get to that. But like both of them, I think you need to shut the fuck up.
100%.
Tired of hearing about it. They missed the boat so goddamn hard.
Yeah.
When it
happened. They could have made money, but it's not going to happen now. So like what? what makes it interesting for people to talk about?
It doesn't.
We're never getting the blow off feud.
No.
Like I would love to see that. It's not going to happen.
And you just said a very smart thing. If both companies were crushing it right now and they were throwing shots at each other like successful companies used to do all the time, this would be fantastic.
Well, and it's the kind of shots too, like that matter also. But like both companies are doing good things that I wish they would only focus on.
Right.
Because that's what's making them do good things. The competition existing is great for any business. Like everybody does better when there's competition. But like Triple H should be above taking a bunch of shots at a company that's like, does 1/5 the business they do.
But look
like
how
the WrestleMania.
But look how the other company reacted.
Yeah, and he did that to make them react that way, and they should know better than that. But like all of it, nobody's right here.
No,
it's just all.
But just
a bad thing.
Triple H made it. I agree. I agree. This is all bad. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm not against companies taking shots at each other when it is equal fire. Well, an equal volume of fire. Like Triple H said in passing, he was. And he didn't even say Will Ospreay. So he did the Pat McAfee show and said, basically, if a guy wants a lighter schedule and basically doesn't. Jim Neidhart?
I was
Jim Neidhart?
I swear to God, I was about to talk about Jim Neidhart. Now everybody's confused because that hasn't aired yet because it goes out on Monday.
Oh, so on Monday you're going to be introduced to the Jim Neidhart alarm. It's when I accidentally start a timer instead of a stopwatch to track the length of our show. But Will Ospreay, maybe not the guy that Triple H was talking about when he said he wanted a lighter schedule and more money. Could have been talking about Okada. There's a bunch of fucking people that got signed at the same time.
Me, it felt like even before he did. But again,
hang on.
It's all just
so let's say it was right. Fine. That is a in-out comment, right? Yeah. And that's fine.
And actually, Will Ospreay handled it in an in-out way himself.
Sure.
It was much less tedious and annoying than this other bullshit is.
But that was the third consecutive segment in a row. That was
for sure.
30% of the goddamn show on Dynamite tonight was AEW addressing what WWE did. Not to mention Edge's rally cry to start Dynamite last week.
It was a bunch of stuff that it's
4 segments.
If you just took the segment showing footage out, then the Ospreay thing doesn't feel like that. It just feels like its own thing. The FTR promo, which was great, feels more like a rally the troops. We are going against you guys, which is still the story they're trying to do.
Yes.
Would have been absolutely doable without the
That's all they had to do.
Thing. And then you get the same heat. FTR still would get their FTR chant and everything.
Yeah.
But I want it to end, but it's probably not gonna. But I'm just not interested in. I really enjoy when we are arguing about stuff.
Right.
But because we're arguing about wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
Are the Young Bucks good?
Yeah.
Is this gimmick, is it too obtuse?
Right.
Or is it something that is genius? I think those arguments that we have, super fun. Because those are wrestling arguments.
We also come to conclusions where now we're just ugh.
There is no conclusion here, except they all need to move past it. It's not doing anybody any good.
Also, too, Punk has moved. That was a surprising one.
I thought he had. It's
I don't mind. We're of the age where those shoot interviews were worth their weight in gold.
Oh yeah,
finding them. So
but
and they're so
is different now.
I agree,
in a good way.
But it was seeing Punk talk for 2 hours. It was like a relic. It was the sequel to his Cole Cabana podcast. It's this is what he
Cole
does.
Cabana,
right?
It was the Moxley one.
Yeah,
I feel like we should be past.
We
all
should,
that.
but on screen. On WWE TV, he is past it.
100%.
He's mentioned it once or twice, but again, once or twice, sometimes I get guys in a headlock, and then he moves on.
Part of my realization, by the way, also is when we ended up not talking about the Punk interview itself,
right?
And I didn't intentionally push past that or whatever. But I hadn't watched the interview. Normally, I would watch everything that's wrestling related. I hadn't made the conscious decision I'm not going to watch that, but. In retrospect, that's absolutely what I was doing. I was I'm loving CM Punk right now.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be ruined by this stupid interview that I know what's going to be said.
It was a lot of interviews are all well and good if everybody's sitting in the same room and you can call each other on their bullshit. And a lot of shit Punk has said, you're and a lot of it's right. I would say
I think they're both right and both wrong, but because they're both human.
no, but just Punk in his own right. But this is anybody getting interviewed. How many liberties are being taken? I don't know what I'm being. Am I being taken for a ride on this thing or not or just very little? Example. in the footage that they showed from All In, the big thing was Tony feared for his life because Punk lunged at him. And you see the video and you're like, I don't know.
My first reaction was, oh, he did make a move. But then I watched it more. I'm like, oh, maybe not. But then again, the conclusion I came to was, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Exactly. And that's exactly how this is just like, I don't know. I'm not going to analyze a shitty little closed circuit security camera thing like the Zapruder film just to see like, hey, what was Punk's first step intention?
I'm not even sure what their intention in putting that on was, outside of, I'm certain it was a reaction to probably both the Punk thing and the Triple H thing, but like,
I think one thing,
just keep doing your show.
Yeah. I think one thing we can agree on, not a good idea. I think
it was not.
I think the pay-per-view had enough solid build without them having to do anything with
They're
CM
doing
Punk.
a great job. Don't derail it. Yeah. And they like kind of ruined what would have been a pretty decent episode of Dynamite. I had to go back and rewind. I know you said you had to turn it off.
I turned it off.
That.
We'll get to where I turned it off.
But like, I went back to rewatch stuff outside of the context of the feeling I had after the more CM Punk bullshit. And I was like, oh no, okay, this is a really good match. I would have really enjoyed this if they hadn't done that. Like the FTR promo itself, I'm like, it's an awesome promo.
Yeah.
And by the way, this AEW thing will generally probably be a little bit shorter because like Dave said, he turned it off partway through, which is understandable.
Yeah.
And then my opinions are like, I feel like they're still going to be flavored by just a bad feeling because it's nothing in wrestling do I find boring. Even boring ass shit like the 2004 Great American Bash, I'm not bored when like watching it or whatever. This specific thing is the only thing that is boring to me.
Right.
It's like it feels like we have to talk. Feels like we're being forced to talk politics, which is something I stopped doing publicly like 10 years ago for this reason.
Yeah, we're going back and forth. We're making the same if we were to continue it, we're going back and forth. We're making the same points. We're not listening to each other. There will be no conclusion. There is no new information. Even the new information that came out, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit?
No. I could not care less.
But also too, like this doesn't like. And also, shame on AEW for doing this and not, like, why the fuck wasn't Jack Perry on the show? If you're going to show this, let's do something productive with it and bring back the guy.
And because those
shirts are sold out. The Scapegoat shirt sold the fuck out.
No shit.
Bring his ass back on television.
Use it. Like this, I saw, like, also, it popped a rating or whatever, but, like...
duh.
But, like...
Of course it was going to.
It's not worth it.
No. For 1 week,
because if I feel this way watching it, and I'm you're a Mr. Superfan,
absolutely.
There are a lot of other people like me that are just like, oh, just fucking stop.
Yeah.
If you're gonna like pop that rating or whatever, then put Will Ospreay Takeshita 2 on right after that.
Yeah.
So that when you grab people,
that's a good point.
Like show them
or showcase somebody.
Don't just keep talking about the same thing.
So they had
show the thing that you're good at.
They had I didn't time this whole thing because I was so annoyed watching it, but if you include the Bucks thing, the FTR segment, and I'll even throw the Will Ospreay thing in there because that had some time, even though the second half was good and like, can't you just make it about Ospreay and Danielson? That's all you need. Just put their names on the screen,
and it was wonderful.
Put their names on the screen.
Awesome.
Say nothing, and I'm buying it.
On this show, they had a couple of awesome video packages where like it was just all like flavored by that. Like, why are we? I thought we were finally done with this.
But while they're instead of doing that, put Queen Aminata on the show. Put people on the fucking show and like get them on Wednesdays and get them off of Rampage because there is like clearly like a have and have nots in that company.
And Rampage is
the have nots.
So because everything that
there's only been one episode of Rampage. It's been going on for 7 consecutive years.
It's like in the same universe that in The Simpsons, which Ozzie Smith got sucked into on the baseball episode. When
Mr. Burns was putting the softball team together.
Yeah, that's where Rampage exists. In that like liminal halfway between reality state where like Dustin Rhodes somehow has like 10 wins in the last month.
Remember when Ken Griffey Jr. drank the tonic? His head got really big?
Absolutely.
Wow, it's like a party in my mouth. Everybody's invited. It's my Ken Griffey Jr. impression.
I feel like we're kind of
I'm just tired of it, man.
The same page about this. Like, do you want to... Like, I'm going to do a rundown of the rest of the show.
We're going to go with... We have
as much as I can.
Yeah. Because
I don't really want to talk about this anymore.
No, it'll. I'm not going to say a hard line in the sand, no, because if it comes up, it'll come up.
No, I'm not saying make a rule. I'm saying that that's kind of how I feel.
But there's a reason we didn't like. I have even before we started doing the podcast and we would come over and watch the wrestling at your place. And I'm like, Punk, and everyone's like, no, stupid, you're wrong. And I'm like, no, Punk. I didn't want to talk about the Punk interview on this. I wrote a ton of notes, and when you're like, oh, we forgot to talk about it, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, no, because it's not fun.
No, it's just I
could talk about the Punk Raw promo. We did, but I could talk about the Punk Raw promo for 8 hours.
So good.
For forever.
What Punk did.
Because that's fun, because it's part of the
What Punk did at Mania, and we're going to go over all this in the WWE episode. We're going to cover WrestleMania, Monday Night Raw, and kind of where their trajectory is going. So if you listen to this before Raw, before the WWE one, pop on over. But WWE's cooking, Punk's cooking over there. I'm looking at the Dynasty card right now. This has potential to be an all-timer.
Well, it's incredible. So just do your own thing.
Do your own thing. Don't acknowledge the other thing. Build your own thing. Make the other company jealous. Try to pilfer your guys.
Yeah. That's fun too.
Yes.
It's always fun when somebody shows up surprise on
totally.
the show.
Or if they straight up steal, how
Yeah.
WWE's like, oh, we created the Attitude Era. It's like, no, you saw what ECW was doing, and you're like, we're going to make that our entire business model.
And also,
now.
I'm all for the wrestlers because I'm a huge wrestling fan, and for them to have that negotiating power and make more money, that's awesome too. It's cool to have a couple of competing businesses.
Absolutely.
But all the shit that has happened recently with the reemergence essentially of the AEW CM Punk nonsense.
Right.
All that does is make me angry at those guys for making me like them less than I want to like them.
Yeah, that's fair.
All of them.
That's very fair.
Every one of them.
They're going out of their way.
I want to like them as much as I can,
Yeah.
and they're making me forcing me to not like them as much as I really would like to like them.
It's like if you go to a friend's house and he gives you a dish of ice cream and he puts mustard on it. You're like, why are you trying to make me hate you right now? You gave me ice cream. Why did you have it?
Gave you the ice cream and then put the mustard on the
wow,
top.
look, it's and it's good. It's like birthday cake ice cream. Ooh. Ooh, and then mustard. Not even yellow mustard. It's like that horseradish
Birthday
mustard.
cake's a little sweet for me personally. But,
birthday cake?
My Victoria loves it, but
yeah.
I like it in small amounts, like the birthday cake ice cream.
But you definitely don't like it with mustard on it, right?
You know what? Who
no,
knows?
don't.
I didn't know I liked Super Callow either, Dave.
That's fair.
Until I tried it.
He looks like he smells like mustard.
Yes, he does.
But no, okay, yeah. Look how much time we spent on this. Let's talk about the damn show.
I know it. Well, that's why I wanted to lead off the show with it.
That's good. Now we can leave out a massive chunk in the middle.
I don't care.
No.
I just don't care. It's not interesting. And you know what? I bet it's not that interesting to people listening.
No,
because
sorry.
they're all tired of it.
Sorry,
too.
guys. If you want to watch the clip from All In that they showed, it's all over the internet. Everyone's covering it to death. So you can watch it. It's grainy. There's no audio. You can debate who did what first. I'm nice. It's good to see Jerry Lynn back there and Chris.
Yeah.
I forgot Chris Hero worked there. That was a big
The only thing I liked about the whole,
I was like,
two things. The Samoa Joe looked like a badass as always, and super upset Chris Hero was like, oh, Chris Hero.
He was silent film acting.
He's been running a small promotion in San Diego. I think.
Oh, for real?
The last 2 years. Yeah.
I forgot about him entirely.
He's one of the greatest indie wrestlers of all time, and I also forget about him regularly.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Worst gear for a fat guy they've ever put on anybody.
No, you don't like the Dream Team jerseys?
Yeah, with the little trunks too that make it look like he's just not wearing pants.
He looked like when remember going back to The Simpsons when they fast forward to the future and Bart's a gigolo or he's a stripper.
Yeah.
That reminds me of what Chris Hero looks like.
That was also Brutus the Barber Beefcakes. That's the comp you made to Brutus the Barber at WrestleMania 9.
I've been watching a lot of Simpsons lately.
Speaking of let's just talk through that segment of the show. Essentially, you could talk about it without even mentioning the video.
Yeah.
But you're making me think that because of the Simpsons stuff.
Yeah.
Because Cash Wheeler had an incredible
yes,
shirt on, and then in case anybody hasn't seen or heard what happened, this is a mid-show thing, but I just want to be done talking about it. So we're going to talk about it, and then we'll start at the top of the show. But it was the Bucks doing a backstage segment talking about essentially the point they were making with the promo, and it could have been made without putting any video out or anything out there, was that the reason that we lost, because they have an upcoming match with FTR at the pay-per-view. It's their third in a trilogy. the point that they were like character-wise trying to make was, the only reason we lost to you because it was at All In and because we were distracted by your buddy because they're friends with Punk. They could have ended it at that. Just said your buddy, made it like a passing reference and say we were distracted because of all the stuff that was going on. Whatever. It still is just a heel thing. I wish that's what it was, so I'm just going to pretend that that's what they did. So that's what they did, and then they cut to an in-ring. FTR comes out and cuts a very impassioned promo about how they love AEW. They're here to continue building it from the ground. Dax Harwood did rattle off a crazy number of names of people that are on the show and stuff. And I get it. That's the idea. They're like the Bucks are douchey managers, and they're the only ones that are living in the past. Everybody else wants to be past it.
Right.
The only problem is that all of us want to be past it too, and it doesn't get the right kind of heat.
FTR was speaking for the fans.
100%.
That was
it was me.
That was
I was what I would have wanted.
It was the internal dialogue of everybody watching the show,
which generally is great storytelling.
Yeah,
and it's so that's really good booking.
Yeah,
except you just were tone deaf.
They
straight up leave that stupid video out.
But they straight up said, Cash gets in the ring and said, "Why are we showing this? What are you two hoping to accomplish by this?" And I go, "Yeah,
exactly."
I'm sick and tired of hearing about this. Everybody in the back is ready to move on. Instead of talking about Revolution, he meant Dynasty.
Yeah, he did.
The fact we're going back to Wembley this year, that's a great point. The fact we're going back to Wembley. Let's talk about
they
the
undersold
next
that last year too. By the way.
The fact we're putting on some of the best shows, we're showing videos from 8 months ago because Rod and Todd Flanders can't let go that they lost to FTR.
Yeah, I like it. So he made a Simpsons reference. While, by the way, Dax just came out white T-shirt. Cash is wearing it looked like an actual vintage
an OG
Bart Simpson don't have a cowman T-shirt, and then he makes the Rod and Todd.
Yeah.
So my note on this was somebody was binging Hulu or whatever or Disney Plus, I think, right before they came out for their promo today.
Right. That's Disney Plus, yes.
Yeah,
it does have
I believe it is currently.
Yeah, so Cash cooked them at Dynasty. We have to beat you because I'm sick of you petty little bitches. And then Dax gets up, and again, I mentioned that I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of hearing everybody's origin story when they give a promo.
Yeah.
Because there are guys who don't do this in wrestling, and it's way more effective and noticeable. I don't need to hear how hard you struggled, and without this and without that, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, and like we said last week, if you do it once, like Willow did, that's cool.
Yeah, but she did. Notice how she didn't do it again?
And then you leave it.
But she also did it in the right setting, in the right context. She just became I don't know, dude. She read the room very correctly. No. And then Dax gets on the mic and he says, every chance they have to talk, they let us all know that without them, hundreds of people would be without a job, that AEW probably wouldn't exist. And I don't necessarily disagree with you. Start there. There. Talk about how and you just said how the Young Bucks are entitled, indie darlings, and now they have power. Nobody likes that guy.
Yeah, and we're not supposed to.
No, but that's a good face heel dynamic.
Absolutely,
Start
it is.
There,
yeah,
right.
It was exactly.
He said because of the Young Bucks, he said FTR has eclipsed them as the best tag team on the planet. Somewhere along the way, you stopped caring about the three letters, and he meant AEW, and you started caring about a different three letters, which are EVP. Again, everyone knows someone, or at least worked with someone you're friends with while you're at work, and they get a promotion and they turn into a fucking asshole.
They become a prick.
That's a story that's never been told in wrestling.
Bucks characters are great characters. Yes. And even this story that they're telling, outside of this one just stupid decision that I'm putting on Tony Khan more than the Bucks even. Yeah. Because it's his job to say, oh, you know what, this is not a great idea. This is a great story too. This part of it, they just cut out that one thing.
And then even if you want to boil this down to the lowest common denominator, he says 2 teams at Dynasty, 2 teams walk in, 1 team walks out as the first 3-time AEW World Tag Team Champions. That's your angle.
Yeah, you can also sell this. You could sell this match just on its Bucks FTR 3.
Yes,
it's going to be an incredible match.
That's it.
They also happen to be building a really good story.
Yeah,
they just unfortunately it was.
If you omit every mention of Punk and All In last year, just what Dax said.
Yeah.
Sells this entire match. And
I'm hoping they do the Rock pivot basically here.
Yeah.
Because the reaction from everybody
has been brutal.
All the fans, myself, is just an eye roll and I thought we were done with this. I'm so tired of this. And And like you said, was it on air? It might have been before. That it seems like they're trying to scrub that the actual footage
I read
from the
that,
internet.
Yeah, and
good. Do
so,
that and pretend it never happened. Move on.
So I'm taking that with a grain of salt because I also read earlier in the day that Ospreay didn't want, or it wasn't his idea to do.
That was a Wade Keller thing.
But then, like later in the day, they're like, no, actually, I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Plus, if you watch his promo, he was so proud of himself with his little grind on Stephanie line.
So the EVP, so this segment, like I guess if you're trying to get viewers, it did its job. Right now on YouTube, the entire segment with the Bucks. Remember we were just talking about not talking about it anymore. But this is just interesting from a numbers perspective.
No, like we talk ratings. That's everything about wrestling is fun except one thing.
So the EVP segment, as of right now, and we are about 24 hours after Dynamite finished airing, has 251,000 views. The main event, which is Samoa Joe versus Dustin Rhodes,
which was a kick-ass match, by the way.
253. So it's got 2,000 more views than this entire thing, which means like you could interpret that as people want to just watch good. People who watch AEW
want to watch good wrestling.
Good wrestling.
Want to watch something like Samoa Joe and Dustin
That's it.
Rhodes beat the shit out of each other. That's what they did. It was a great match.
Oh, can you not see anymore?
See
what? Come on, YouTube. I was going to see how many thumbs up, thumbs down it
Oh,
had.
yeah.
They disabled thumbs down. You can see thumbs up.
Yeah.
It's got 4,000 thumbs up, which has to mean it's got.
But like even that, it just feeds into the worst of us, like wrestling fans.
Yeah.
It's the people that like want to say that WWE is stupid, and the WWE people want to say that AEW is losers.
Yeah.
And they just have decided that already. There are podcasters like Bubba Ray, Jim Cornette, whatever. Yeah. They knew what they were going to say well before that anything aired or whatever. Like, and so it's of no value to me. And like, it's no point in arguing with any of those people because they're not going to see it your way in any way, and you're never going to come around to be an idiot like them. So like it's just a waste of everybody's time.
It's this weird tribalism, and we should all be recognizing the tide is going to raise all boats here.
It is. We just had like the best WrestleMania of my life.
Yeah.
It wasn't just because Triple H took over, it was competition.
It was very good. So that's that. Can we go to the top of the show now?
Our show open with Samosif Joseph. Music hits. He's coming down for a eliminator match. I'm not even sure if they had. Did they? I think they advertised it ahead, but I don't think they actually announced who he was coming down the ramp to face before Swerve Strickland came out.
Because I said, I'm like, because I didn't know how the show was going to end because I watched it this morning, so it already day after. It aired, and I'm thinking, is Samoa Joe just not wrestling? Because I'm good with that. Then what's the main event going to be?
I do not like advertising something you don't do, which is like one of the. There's a couple things AEW has done in the last couple of weeks that because of like the shit that I care about, I'm unhappy with. I don't like that they cut guys for the first time without paying out the contracts. I'm very consistent about that. Something I love about the company is that they've always paid out their contracts. They just for the first time. Because he overextended himself with the number of people he hired, cut some people. I also like they are very good about putting on. It's the card is subject to change thing. Almost never happens. Yeah. It's almost always, unless like there's a real extenuating circumstances. If they advertise something, have it happen. And they are still doing that, thankfully. Yeah. But I was concerned after Swerve attacked Joe. I'm like, oh, are they going to do this too, where they take something off that's like. I will say Swerve and Joe have developed. Pretty quickly. It's very good physical chemistry.
Yeah.
It feels like they hate each other and they're going to have a banger.
As long as they deliver in the ring, because very few times do people who have blood feuds get in the ring and react like they actually hate the other person.
Yeah.
Like they'll get in there and they'll punch for 5 seconds and then they'll go to like a rest hold. I'm like, let me get this straight. This guy made you bleed and you signed a contract in blood. Yeah. Not saying this is going to happen. It's like, and now you have him in an arm
there's
bar.
Positive history because we saw it. Swerve and Hangman didn't. Like, they were trying to kill each other for 3 matches.
That's a good example of that, but they're throughout wrestling history.
Yeah.
There's just been very tepid, like,
always.
You forget what's my motivation? Your motivation is that guy tried to fuck your wife.
Whatever, you hate him. Like, you've told us you hate him for the last 2 months.
Absolutely.
React like you would hate him, which, again, that's a little bit of a slight turn back in a direction for Swerve's character that I mentioned really enjoying last week, too. he's like a sociopath. He is like a.
He needs more of that.
He gets obsessive, and he gets a very like he holds grudges. He gets very angry.
More of that,
and that's what they're kind of doing. I think that's how they ended the show last week with Swerve like realizing, wait, I don't think you remember like what I am. And then this week it was a furthering of that crazy ass Swerve that's like loose cannon that made him seem so dangerous and got him super over.
Right.
And now I'm like way more excited for that match than I would be if he was just doing his babyface bullshit he was doing for a couple months.
So since you notice all the details and you have to usually explain the show to me, he comes out with like raccoon eyes. Is that feeding into like
it was part of his like mental.
And when I say raccoon eyes, I mean he's got like deep black makeup. Like he looks exhausted all the time.
He's essentially wearing eyeliner. It's
but like around his eyes.
Whenever
like eyeshadow.
Whenever he's got a thing going, when the Hangman build was happening, and now with this, it is again. You're right. It is a nice detail.
Yeah.
If you can actually look at like still frames week to week, the more unhinged he becomes, the darker and darker his eyes become.
So that plays nicely into an unhinged character because I don't know what that is meaning aside from he's not sleeping or he's
so
out.
Obsessed that I assume he's just like up all night.
Yeah,
like,
so that's
raging.
That's good. I noticed that about a month ago, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like he looks crazy.
He's done it a couple times too.
Yeah.
Where like if he's in a good place, it's just a little bit.
Is that right?
And then as he gets more and more upset about something or crazed about something, it becomes more and more. Towards the end of the Hangman one, he basically was wearing baseball eye black.
Yeah,
like it looked like just sunken skull eyes.
Last name was Trout. Before we go on to the show, I do want to praise the first note I had is I fucking love this new intro music and how the stage looks.
Me too. It took me a little bit to get used to because I had so much nostalgia for the old music. I love this.
The new branding, the new video looks amazing. It's a real bummer that the house was a quarter full. But and you heard it a little bit, but like that's
I thought that crowd actually did a pretty admirable job of making noise for.
But just like it takes out the ability to do like the big sweeping shots and stuff like to just kind of like visually
100%.
And like you can hear 3,000 versus because the cap in this place is just over 13,295 and according to WrestleTix there were about 3,360 tickets distributed. So
they said it was only set up for 3 or something,
which is fine.
Why? But why again? Why book that big
Why
building?
book that? Yes. Perception is value.
And like the truth is, as we've said before,
world wrestling
takes a long time for like wrestling has to be like any given product like or company has to be good for like a long time before. A lot of the times like the bigger crowds end up showing up when the great stuff is kind of over already because that's just how wrestling works.
Right.
So like right now they're still suffering from a dog shit last year and it's probably going to take most of this year for them to build it back up. And the only way that they're not going to be able to build it back up is by doing shit like they did
more
with that
CCTV footage.
Nonsense. Yeah. Everything else they're doing, like stories, the way they are building the pay-per-views, the physical look. I love the white ropes. I know a lot of people don't. Yeah. It's my favorite. It makes me think of Pride fighting. Yeah. All that stuff will lead to bigger houses eventually. It's just the way wrestling is. Yeah. It's the most ebby and flowy thing in the world. But yeah, like in the meantime, like we've talked about before, book less cavernous houses. But I was proud of these fans. I actually thought that they like made the effort to make some noise for most of these wrestlers in these matches.
I'm not putting down like that's fine. Like, but just you have your diehards there, and you got to count on your diehards to make that place feel enormous.
I mean, I'm only saying that because I was shitting on a crowd like a couple of weeks ago.
But they
just didn't know, like they didn't want to cheer for Shibata Ospreay, so I was like, "Fuck them, they're stupid."
Right.
So I want to give credit when I.
That's fair. No, the crowd was good for the portion of the show I watched. I still watched up till this point because. You mentioned dope video packages. That was up next. They did a really nice job recounting the Trent turning on the best friends. Yep. And
they're real concise, and they tell it's amazing how good they are at those, considering they just didn't do them like at all for 4 years or whatever. And then as soon as they decided to do them, must be that like the new producer guy or whatever.
Has to be
because they're great and like they're in their final form already. They're like really well edited and tell the whole story.
And Renee said that Orange Cassidy will address what happened on Rampage, which is just running on a live stream somewhere in the
liminal state,
in the multiverse somewhere. Orange Cassidy has wrestled 17 times today alone on Rampage. Boo. I'm really glad I watched Dynamite until the point I did, because I got to watch the Adam Copeland Penta match.
Oh.
Holy shit, was this good.
Great match.
My God.
Loved Penta's gear, too, and the fact that it matched Alex Abrahantes.
Yeah,
is always a positive.
Blue Tista. This was the Cope Open TNT Championship Open Challenge match. Rated R seminar, that's right. And it was just such a goddamn good match. And Edge, did you know Edge was a luchador? I didn't.
No, that was my exact note was, how was 50-year-old ass Edge keeping up with Penta's lucha style right now? Because he was.
It was
Penta offense heavy to begin with, but then Edge started countering stuff and like sticking with it. It felt natural.
Yeah.
I'm actually amazed at how much I'm enjoying Edge in AEW.
He's turning me.
I didn't expect to that much because I was never even a big Edge guy in WWF or WWE back in the day. But like now I'm like, damn, I really enjoy your Jack Reacher ass character and how much he's leaving it all in the ring for everybody that he faces. And like,
if I'm noticing that every time a big WWE guy goes to AEW, they're really quickly put in some preposterously dangerous match. And I think it's almost like 100% of the time that happens.
Like a rite of passage kind of thing.
Yeah. And like, I really am enjoying when they don't do that.
Yeah.
Like Edge did that right away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't have to do this, dude. Like, just please wrestle good matches. And
I wonder if that is, and I have no information on this one way or the other, and I'm not sure if I even have an opinion on it. Just I wonder if that is the company doing that because they think it would be interesting to see a WWE person in like a death match because they haven't forever in WWE, or if it's the person that's coming over saying, I want to show the boys and girls in the back that I can do this ECW stuff that AEW does.
I think it's the latter. Okay. It's like when we went to Catholic school and we weren't allowed to have long hair, and the second we graduated, we grew our hair out. Kind of like, I think that's exactly. We were way more rebellious.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it's probably. You're right. And I think it's to prove myself. I need to prove myself that I'm not just the WWE style, that I can do this.
But also too, like, it was never an
brutal
option.
Thing.
So like, hey,
it'll probably be just fun for him too. Yeah. Like, I haven't been able to do a death match. No. I mean, like for Moxley, for sure, it's that he just wanted to do death matches. That's
yes. I hate it here. I definitely only want to go there to wrestle matches. To wrestle matches. How much glass do you have here?
I'm sure the $6 million.
But it's like Sting. Like, everyone shat on is like, oh, Sting never did these types of matches in his whole career. It's like, well, maybe Sting never had the option to do them like under Turner Broadcasting.
Well, and actually, those people are, and I wouldn't have argued with them up until the last few weeks. Those people were fucking wrong. Sting did all of that shit. We just weren't watching.
Yeah.
Sting, you go back and watch the heyday Sting. He's jumping off the top rope to the floor like a ton. Yeah. Like way more than I ever would have imagined had we not started doing Turnbuckle Time Machine.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing about our podcast so far is like learning all the stuff that I was wrong about and like my eyes are being opened to. So like all the people that are saying Sting never was that until they were like me. They just didn't watch him before. Like they didn't know he was that. He definitely was that. It was just that WCW was like the underwatched niche promotion. Yeah. Like AEW.
Well, they had such amazing characters as the Master.
Oh,
Sullivan! If you have not watched our episodes of or listened to or watched our episodes of Turnbuckle Time Machine, scroll down a little in your feed, and we've done a couple really garbage pay-per-views so far, and a couple really fun pay-per-views. So
absolutely,
those drop every Monday morning. Monday morning.
Both of these I drop this and the WWE one. If we didn't mention Friday morning as usual, and will always.
That's how I get to work on Fridays. Yeah. I hear myself talk for 4 hours. I was amazed that not only was Edge working a lucha style match, but like how hard goddamn hitting Penta is. I forget how much Penta's I like Penta brutal, until like he's got a couple. He's not always. You can tell when he's motivated.
Yeah, he's like Shinsuke for a lot of the time. Like when Shinsuke cares, I'm like, oh, I forgot you rule. Like, and then he'll not care for a while. Yeah, and then I'll kind of forget that he's good. And then he'll care for a match, and I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah, he's awesome."
Yeah, I love it.
But when Penta's like trying, he should be a world title contender kind of thing.
He should be. Get rid of fucking Alex Abrahantes.
I like him because he's just ridiculous.
He's nonsense.
He's a dork.
The first couple moves of the match, Penta does a spear and a coup de grace. Both of those moves have won dozens of world titles. Super kick. He goes for the finish right away. They did a really cool thing where
great super kick too.
Totally. They mirrored each other's spots. So first Penta throws a flying head scissor.
Yeah.
Edge throws a flying head scissor. They double clothesline each other.
Who knew Edge had that in his arsenal?
And it looked good.
It looked good.
It looked good. They clothesline each other. They do spinning clotheslines to each other, and then they both do it's a single leg drop. It looks like a claymore, and then that was like mirrored chain wrestling.
Yeah.
God damn it, Edge. Good for you.
And like you also forget how big Penta is until you see him in there with a giant guy like Edge.
Edge is like what, 6'4", something like that?
6'5".
Yeah.
And Penta didn't look small in there. He was hitting him hard and it looked believable.
Yeah. They start showing a countdown to the Young Bucks in the top left corner, which I tell you what, if like content aside, if they're going to do that to tee up their appearances on the show,
I would love it going forward as long as they don't mention the thing.
That is an unlikable prick guy in charge thing to do. Like, hey, we're coming on. Like, make sure you're here for
Nicholas
us.
had a great douchebag suit on this week.
They always do.
Specifically, though, Nicholas is like, he's the best.
Yeah.
Penta did a Lucha Underground evil Penta armbreaker too, which he sometimes does, but you don't see it too often.
Right.
That snapped arm.
That was like his whole career coming into AEW.
Yeah, it was like every Lucha Underground match I ever saw him in. It was like he would do it, and then everybody would act like that the person had to retire.
Yeah.
Because it was so brutal.
Yeah.
So it felt brutal because they sold it as such.
And there was nothing not brutal. Edge does a power slam to Penta on the ring apron, which looked great.
Yeah.
And he landed it correctly. There was an avalanche.
Have we seen the power slam on the apron? We've seen everything else. But watching this, I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen that specific thing.
I don't think I have seen it because I was really focused on how, I'm like, wow, he turned, like just like the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it was cool.
It's so easy to fuck up.
Yes.
And I think we would have like seen it fucked up by now. And then an avalanche code red onto Edge.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a code.
It's one of those things that there's like a lot of things similar to the.
I'm mixing up code reds and Canadian destroyers.
Yeah, code red is under
like the sunset
arms.
bomb.
Yeah.
And then the Canadian destroyers.
It's the thing that the NXT call up lady did on Raw.
It's Roxanne Perez.
It's
called Pop Rocks. Edge wins with a spear. After the match, the lights go out. Julia Hart and Brody King are in the ring. Brody King's putting the beat down to Edge. And then biggest face in the entire company, Willow Nightingale, comes out to save the day.
Giant pop. She like Julia Hart had her Black Mist like keyed up and ready to go. So it was in her mouth. She was about to miss Edge. So when Willow like took her out, she did kind of like the old Stone Cold Lou Thesz thing. The black mist kind of just flew out of her mouth a little bit, and it was like all over the side of Willow's face. It's just a cool looking like aesthetic thing.
Yeah.
Like Willow, I want her to win every world title, every title. She's the best. She's as the word we use a lot, undeniable at this point.
Yeah, she doesn't do anything wrong.
She's like everything is, even her run-ins, they go smoothly.
Also, too, like this specifically, when's the last time you saw a lady running in to save a guy?
Love it.
I don't recall that happening.
No.
Like to that where it's like, and then Brody King.
On the Indies, probably.
I'm like, are Willow and Brody King in a fight?
I saw TNA do it.
Yeah, it's the Indies. You were right.
But Indies, yeah.
Televised Indies. Just like up and down a good segment. They're building toward the pay-per-view really nicely, where it's Willow Nightingale against Julia Hart for the TBS Championship.
And then a 6-man for...
reasons?
I like having them all. I'd rather have like Edge versus Brody King.
Have Edge versus Malachi Black for the TNT Championship.
Like me personally, I'm such a Brody King guy.
That's fine too.
But like either one of those,
that is like a hair behind Malachi.
I'm always kind of conflicted on the like, because again, I'm all for the wrestlers, and you don't get your pay-per-view payday unless you're on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So I don't hate it that they do some multi-mans,
right?
Because it gets like as many people as they can on the show.
Yeah.
But this particular one, like, I'd rather see the title defended on the pay-per-view. I mean,
yeah.
Granted, we're getting,
but there's a lot of combustible elements in the match, which we'll get to. But that Penta and Edge.
But this, like everything else on the show, basically
7 thumbs up.
It furthered the story for the build to Dynasty, much like the last pay-per-view Revolution.
Yeah,
doing a great job building this. I already know what the card is shaping up. Looks incredible.
Yeah, the card looks
and
good.
All the matches the stories are being told.
Yeah. I don't know how well anything was built with the next segment, which was a backstage interview. Renee was interviewing Hook.
This was
Chris Jericho
pretty
and
funny.
Shibata was the star of this.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
He didn't actually use his mouth to speak, and he was the star of it.
This was the first time that I understood, at least what the story was, what they're doing.
Yeah.
This was the first time Jericho was like, okay, I'm signaling now. I am a heel.
Yeah.
I'm the heel of this story, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because
he has changed his motivation every fucking week until
it's been confusing as hell until this week.
Let's hope they stick with this thread, because this was an entertaining thread.
And they hammered it home pretty hard, like in the match as well. So like, I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying that Chris Jericho is going heel is because they have a 6-man Shibata, Hook, and Jericho tells Hook and also Shibata that as long as they listen to what he
breathe the rarefied
Jericho air and
listen to him
under his learning tree, they'll both be fine. And then he gives them each like specific, like a match layout thing. We're like, Hook, he said, when I get out, you're gonna you can.
Jericho's plan is he's gonna start, then Hook.
Yeah,
I didn't write down who the other guys were gonna be, but like he goes in even more detail than this. And then Shibata is going to do whatever move for the win.
And like, it's so funny.
Is that how the match went? I was off by this
point.
No,
not at all. Because it's Shibata. Like, the fact that anybody could say, be under my learning tree when you're talking to Shibata is like hilarious.
Yeah.
But then Jericho walks off after, giving his team their coaching, their instructions. And
Hook says bet.
Yeah, Hook says
that's
bet.
What he says.
And then Shibata takes out his little like pocket translator.
It's like a Google translator device, like whatever he speaks Japanese to English.
And it just goes like,
it goes bet.
Bet first, bet.
And he said, what is his deal?
What is his deal? And then Renee, I like your necklace.
And did you notice what Renee's necklace was?
No.
Firmly between her breasts.
Oh, okay.
It was dangling right above like her sternum, and she's just like, thanks.
Japanese. Maybe like culture thing.
Yeah, I don't know,
like
but
the groping trains that they have.
I'm thinking it's
that
like,
made me laugh though.
Yeah, but that's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So far, this guy, I know he's a good wrestler. I get it. Now they gave him something to do. Now, he's the guy that has the.
I love him.
The
right
interpreter
now.
thing.
I love him so much.
It's just different.
Even if he didn't have a character, I would love him. But now, like you said, now he's got a thing.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
It's been a constant theme every week we talk about AEW. The wrestling is never, ever, ever the issue. It's the character development and it's the story continuity.
Sure, yeah.
And they got a guy who doesn't speak the language, I assume. So I don't
think Shibata speaks like at all.
And like he's
of course, I didn't know that Okada spoke any, and he's almost perfect English on this episode. I'm like, oh, okay.
So yeah, it's just something. It's now a character trait for Shibata, which good.
Yeah,
more of that for everybody. But all in all, this.
I like Hook and Shibata together too. Like after this is done, I wouldn't mind them being a thing.
Did you see that Hook's contract is coming up? And
I saw that he said this. The only thing that any wrestler, and what I want every wrestler ever to always say.
What's that? Bet.
Bet also yes, but I'm going to keep my options open as far as because like don't leave money on the table, guys. Right. You're already they're billionaires, both.
Yeah.
Say you're negotiating with even if you're not interested in one or the other, always say it. Always talk to them. Get the bag. Like how, you guys are putting your bodies on the line.
Just like
get the bag.
Like how Becky Lynch did, right?
And Darby Allin. They also.
I'm never leaving, but I'm going to look elsewhere.
Everybody calls Will Ospreay a dummy, but he got the money he got because he talked to both companies.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody should do that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it's a better wrestling world when there is rotation of wrestlers into the other companies, and you get to see them do different styles and a different kind of thing. So I doubt Hook leaves primarily because he's so young and his dad's under a long-term contract, but it'd be cool to see him in WWE.
Yeah.
And also I'm glad that he's not being dumb about it and get your money, man.
Well, yeah. Now that WWE, not to bring this company up at all because we have a whole nother episode and we got a lot to talk about in the WWE episode. They got the draft coming up. So they're going to have a hardline split where they're going to probably there will be more opportunity for a guy like Hook coming over because there's not going to be a drowning.
Has there been any there's been no news on Drew signing, right?
He hasn't signed from
like
what I heard.
He has to have. They have to be just keeping a lid on it because like he's the star. Well, we'll talk about it. But like something I can talk about on this episode, and like with the Hook thing pertains to it as well. I think it's great how wrong the dirt sheets are about everything now.
Yeah.
Both companies seem to have realized if we feed them garbage information, it'll make it more interesting for our fans because they won't know what's coming.
I've noticed a direct correlation to how much fun I have watching wrestling now relative to how wrong the dirt sheets are. Even today when we were talking about Ospreay's involvement in the promo that he did.
Yeah.
Talking about the Punk thing. And then it's like, one guy's like, he didn't have anything to do with it. And the other guy's like, that's bullshit. But it makes you not want to read dirt sheets anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Because all I care about was the promo itself. And I was like, it was a good promo. So that's all I need to know.
The more they're returning to kayfabe, the better the shows
Hell
are.
Yeah, baby.
Both of them.
It all ties into the thing at the start of the show. Like, we're tired of that bullshit. You can get rid of the dirt sheets too. Like that was fun for a long time.
Right.
I'm past it now, and now we have two competing companies doing good work. So keep lying.
Totally.
Keep lying to SRS and Meltzer.
And that is one thing, not to bring him up again, but Punk did say on the interview where he's like, I don't like kind of exposing the locker room. He said that in the interview, and he was very transparent about that. He's like, I don't like when people talk about what's going back there. When people ask like, hey, what are the boys like in the locker room? He's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
that's like that's for us. That's not for you.
I agree.
I'm stoked that he has that mindset because the shit that they're pulling off lately in both companies, it's like, whoa, awesome. Awesome.
I've not been surprised by as many things with both companies. And I keep like probably pre-internet.
Yeah.
Like before I was on like xwrestling.com in 1997, it feels like that kind of. So like, keep lying. Keep lying to these guys. I don't need to know like all the backstage stuff. It's really just more tedious than anything else. And it makes all this stuff way more fun.
I misspoke. I just said when you had your iPod under my breath in 1997. Was not invented until almost 2002. So
really, that feels late.
October 20th. The original iPod introduced in October 23rd, 2001.
Yeah, I had like a MP3 player, like a Sony or like Kazaa or something, like that I would put my Napster song that it took all day to download like one song on my MP3 player before.
You
it was
were lucky if you got the
pod.
song you wanted too.
Yeah.
More backstage segments. So we have
this was a very like story heavy episode, which is what I asked
which
for.
Is good.
So I wanted because we had a couple of really wrestling heavy.
Yes. Also, too, you need to do a lot all that time for fucking nonsense. Eddie Kingston and Mark Briscoe start backstage.
I love both of these guys now.
Yeah.
Like Briscoe, of course, is just I love him.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember what he said, but it was just making me smile. And then Eddie Kingston replying to him, I realized how much more I enjoy him now that he doesn't have belts on his waist.
Poor guy. He just won 3 of them. He lost 2 of them pretty quickly.
He knows though. He's an old school wrestling guy. He knows that the important thing is the winning them, not the holding them.
Yeah.
Like especially as a babyface.
Said 100 times. It's more fun when the babyface chases than when they hold them.
I'm glad that Briscoe's getting a chance with a belt only because I really want him way up higher on the card.
Well, they were
maybe that shows that like they're gonna do something with
they
him.
Were such him and Jay were persona non grata, man, for wrestling for so long, and now like just like a shining example of like give the guy a shot.
Yeah,
and like he's good, he's a great worker, and these two fought apparently for the Ring of Honor World Title, which Mark Briscoe won.
I watched. It was a good match.
Good match.
I watched it. It was actually a really good show. I watched it when I was like. I don't know. I was like, it was like a meth bender with wrestling.
You were on a meth bender?
It was like mid, not actual meth. Like wrestling was my meth.
Sure.
Mid WrestleMania weekend, which watched all of. I also watched Joey Janela's Spring Break, the Ring of Honor Supercard show, and then like 4 other like indie matches that I heard were really good, like Maki Death Kill. Versus Danhausen and another female Japanese performer. I can't remember her name, but she's like 4'7". That match was amazing. Nick Gage and Maki Ito as Maki Death Kill.
Oh.
So we got to see Nick Gage like a bunch of goofy nonsense. And then as soon as Nick Gage came in, he just tried to murder the 4'7" Japanese woman. It just bumped like crazy for him.
Right.
And she was fine afterwards because I always wonder when it's a Nick Gage match.
Yeah.
But she was like selling her merch and stuff.
Well, good.
But like I watched all that shit. And Supercard was very good. Hot crowd too.
I just want to read books after this weekend. It's been so much fucking wrestling to watch. So after Eddie Kingston and Mark Briscoe are going back and forth, Edge walks backstage.
Oh, it's pretty funny.
So my first thought is I had to go back and see how long it was since the match ended. Edge is still out of breath, like he just finished a 100-yard dash.
He's 50. He worked a lucha match with Penta for like 18 minutes.
Yeah, but he doesn't have emphysema. But like he's still huffing and puffing. Like do we need like a ventilator for you? And
I think it might have been performative.
You think? You think? So he walks back there, and I knew what was coming up next. So this is when I started taking really like sparse notes.
You knew Stokely was going to demand a TNT title shot for Willow because that happened.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny.
That was funny.
I'm like, I love this stable. I want them always together.
Yeah.
You knew that Edge was going to call their group the Rated Chicken Hawks.
Off top of his head.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
Okay, Edge.
Everything's got to be rated.
You knew that Stokely was going to apologize to Eddie Kingston for in the past telling him that he smelled like Burger King and Newports.
The last time I saw you, I said you smell like Burger King and Newports. I just should not have said that to you publicly.
After Stokely said that, I said segment of the decade just because it was like 3 straight things that made me laugh out loud. Also,
too, Willow tries to pitch a tag match for when was it on next week or Rampage or some shit?
They're doing an intergender. They booked like 50 matches for Rampage. So again, like liminal space. I don't know where they put all these Rampage matches.
But Willow Edge is not paying attention, and Willow starts challenging Julia Hart, and she kind of turns to Edge. I forget exactly what she said, but she's suggesting that they do a mixed tag, and Edge goes, "Hey, how about this? Why don't we do a mixed tag?" And she's just loving that he wasn't like she reacts
she's
like
laughing like
this is nonsense,
like us at home.
And normally I'd be like,
this old goof.
Yeah. Normally I'm really big on like, hey, do a second take, but just all the character, like all the like subtle, very human reactions.
They were playing off each other great.
Yeah, and Stokely.
I want Stokely, Willow,
like
and Stat to stay together forever.
Yeah. Like if you had to redo a take, how would hey, Stokely?
It wouldn't be any better.
Stokely,
than that.
do it again.
Yeah, it wouldn't be better than that.
No.
That was segment of the decade. My entire note on because the next thing was the bullshit, right?
The next 2 things were the bullshit.
2.5
things were bullshit.
My note, like you could see, the entirety of my notes are Bucks show some footage, say it's why they lost to FTR at All In.
Yeah,
and then a FTR in ring promo, which we already talked about.
And then I wrote for Ospreay promo. He goes. The only line I wrote is, "There's this rumor that I'm afraid of the grind," and I just wrote, "Enough of this shit," and that is the last note I took for the entire show. That's just when I turned the show off.
He took his little. There's a decent line. He just intimated that, like, because Triple H did insinuate that Ospreay, the reason he signed elsewhere is because he doesn't want to do the grind, which I personally like. I wish WWE would stop doing the grind because that's why wrestlers all die when they're young, and I want them to live long lives. Yeah. They should only ever work like once a week. But Ospreay was like defending him.
That. Once a week?
No, once or twice a week. Like much more limited than what they historically have. Just because we've seen them all die so young.
But I would have to assume that's because I think they had locker room pharmacists.
Oh, there's a bunch of contributing factors, but stuff like, Hogan back and Stone Cold, like those repetitive injuries we'd be able to limit if you just limit the number of shows. Sure. This isn't even a knock on anybody. I'm not saying like it's bad business or whatever. I just think it's better for the wrestlers to work fewer shows. More
healing opportunities. A lot of them have like more buses. Dude, I tell you what.
I like the rotating, like keep people off TV for a couple of months, rotate your roster.
Just keep your story going. That's fine.
Yeah.
Or if you want to have guys not on TV or traveling as much, you want them to get their reps in, send them down to Florida. Put them in the performance center. Let them go sleep in their apartments every night. Like, dude, laying in a bed versus sitting on an airplane every day is a game.
The travel, I'm sure, is a big part of
I travel 2 days a week. And I went from sitting in a van and now like I have my own bed. It's gonna add 20 years to my knees.
But
and I'm not wrestling at the Garden
for sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, just not jamming yourself into.
Yeah, you're not sitting like you're like flying. Imagine just like being on a plane to Europe every week.
Yeah,
like that would brutalize your nervous system. So like that's probably why you needed a locker room.
Yeah, I don't even get nervous flying, but it hurts. It makes you nervous to be in an airport and to like, even if you're not scared of flying.
No.
Well, when you turned off the promo, Ospreay then did go on. I don't know if I finished saying what I was saying. His reaction was, and he was very proud of himself because he had a big grin on his face when saying this. He said, I don't have to do it verbatim. He basically said, well, Triple H, the only reason you have your position is because you screwed into it. You married the boss's daughter, basically. It was a very short thing. Yeah, and he's like, right, bro, right. And then but then he did actually just cut a great Will Ospreay Danielson promo right after that. So
I'm so excited for that match.
Me too.
I don't recall. Nope, that's not true. I was very excited for several things this past weekend.
Yeah,
but
I'm just wrestling in general is pretty awesome.
It's fucking good right now.
That's why I was so angry at the start of the show because stop making me not have as much fun as I should be having with all this incredible stuff.
Especially with it being big guys. If it was just like nobodies, if it was like fucking Legado del Fantasma, it's like, not right.
And I still enjoy that bullshit too. But and guys that are making themselves big guys. Like Will Ospreay exploding onto the American scene like he has. It's very exciting.
It's very cool.
In my favorite things in this particular Will Ospreay promo were...
Do you have it written verbatim?
No, but I have notes. He did.
Maybe you go into method acting here.
He Danielson, you said that I'm stronger and faster than you, which is correct. Sunshine. The sunshine is what popped me because it's a Regal thing. I think it's a British thing in general, but Regal used to always do like sunshine or like rose petal or like things basically to say you're soft without having to do like gay jokes or say women are weak kind of thing. Like Sunshine's a great one.
So nothing from 2004 WWE.
Yeah. This is AEW where the best wrestle. That's become kind of one of his calling cards. And then he did the because my name is Will Bloody Ospreay and I'm on another level. I like that. He's closing his that's kind of his catchphrase now.
Also, too, if you're going to keep saying that AEW is where the best wrestlers wrestle, if that's like a thing that the company says, fine.
Do that.
Make that a thing.
Make it your thing.
Make it a thing.
Yeah. That's what I like about it. Do it.
But also, too, like, you're the wrestling company. Yeah. You're not the storytelling company.
Know yourself.
You're the indie. You're the televised indie. Dude, Bubba Ray had such a good take on what AEW is that it's like, I would be curious if you're able to even refute this. He says the reason guys do all these indie things and like AEW is so indie-rific is because they are indie guys and they don't have to be on TV all the time, so they can get away with doing 100 miles an hour and doing 800 spots a show.
Bubba stole from us because I made that point 3 weeks ago. I said the reason they can do these insane spots is because Will Ospreay wrestles once a week, maybe. And that's why, because you can, if you tried to wrestle that style multiple times a week.
But he's saying that for all of them. He's saying like
I mean that for the entire company. Yeah, they all do like pretty indie, real like high risk, big impact, which I love to watch.
Yeah.
But like, if you had them doing that all the time, like
which they usually do,
but all the time for them is once a week, maybe.
Yeah.
If they had to do that like for a full 4-day-a-week schedule, they would all break down and like
But also too, I think Bubba was saying in relation to like packing 8 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag.
Yeah, I'm sure he was looking at it from a negative perspective. No, but he's Bubba.
But I think he kind of like highlighted a big gripe I have with the company where I'm like, these fucking guys are doing like 9 finishers per match.
No, he doesn't like that, and you don't like that.
No,
I do like that.
But like that, he said it perfectly, right? So like, if you keep things special, and if you keep certain moves special, and you only go out, all balls out later in the card, and maybe just for a pay-per-view, like that's more memorable than like if it's an opening match on Collision and you're performing like you're closing Dynamite.
That's 100% a taste thing and an opinion too. Like
you
convinced me. To keep the actual performer special. The Danielson thing, like, argued that for weeks before I started. Like, you're right.
And what did they do this week?
Just do
make a fucking movie
Lead
showing
in
how great he is.
Show us what he did in the past because he's amazing.
Yeah.
And get us ready for the pay-per-view.
I still think he wrestled on Collision.
I don't.
Boo.
Yeah. I just disagree about the move thing.
Yeah.
That's just a matter of taste.
Matter of taste.
There's no point in us arguing that out.
No, but
I will say that I'm glad that they do wrestle the much lighter schedule because
Yeah.
I happen to like that style.
Yeah.
And if I want to be able to have
that
I need
makes-
to sacrifice them
Yes.
being on TV a bunch.
that's a health thing.
Yeah.
Like you just want them. They can't do that match unless they're healthy.
And,
So.
they can't wrestle that style.
No.
If they're even if they're like on TV every week for the whole year, if they don't rotate the cast out occasionally, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
Like.
And they're proving there's ways to keep guys off of TV and still build toward a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It's that whole Paul Heyman, man. He explained it a long time ago. I forget what I was watching.
Stupid Heyman made me almost cry at his
speech.
yeah. I love ECW so much.
He's so good. Oh, I'm stoked
Still
about talking about WrestleMania.
Yeah, all-time favorite.
But
promotion.
Heyman said, like, if someone does a table spot in the first match, like that's it, no more table spots
Yeah.
because you have now taken that emotion off the table.
They have gotten better at that specific thing for pay-per-views at least. Is if there is a like a specific type of weapon spot, they won't repeat it.
You have to like
they'll
crescendo
do a different kind of a thing. Yeah,
like if you put Joe and Swerve on first. And they do the insane shit they're going
They try
do.
to kill each other. Like
how the fuck do you follow that?
Yeah,
you really can't.
Yeah.
It's got to be a completely different style. It's got to be Ospreay Danielson
like
to
I'm
close
with
the show.
them. Like we've talked about this a ton, but like pacing matters on a given show.
Yes.
Like you want your opening match to be like real in and out, high rate of work and like very exciting.
Yeah.
But only 10 minutes or under kind of thing.
Totally.
There's a reason for that because we've learned over the years that's the kind of thing that gets you fired up for the rest of the show.
Mysterio and Guerrero opening a WrestleMania. That's what you want.
Yeah, we agree on I think on most stuff. It's
stuff.
just like stylistic wrestling. Like I like the spamming the Canadian Destroyer because it's fun to me, and I get that excitement when like you're doing a brain buster buckle thing, like you're just
or you're fucking Sami Zayn.
Well,
I can't wait to talk about that on the WWE
he invented
episode.
that move, the brain buster. That's what it was called back then.
I don't. As I mentioned, I stopped taking notes, so I got to follow your lead for the rest of this.
So
fucking young
we
bucks.
got first the Julia Hart video package, like another good one.
All right.
Hers are always really well produced for whatever. It's just like what the story they're doing, but short, concise, well put together, like well edited.
Right.
And then we got Hook, Lionheart, Chris Jericho, and Shibata actually in the match now that we were talking about earlier. They're facing your favorite faction, STP. It's Shane Taylor, who I love Shane Taylor, Lee Moriarty, and a new addition that I'm happy with, and he fits the faction very well. So I'm glad that they're actually fleshing this out. Anthony Ogogo, who I don't think I've seen on TV since Cody feuded with him in year one of AEW.
Yeah.
He's a legit tough guy, really good.
He's an Olympic boxer. Isn't he?
He only had one loss in his career, I think. And like Shane Taylor's the striker guy. He is the puncher. He was a boxer, and he's striker. But he's got like the best looking working punch in wrestling, probably Shane Taylor.
Yeah.
So Ogogo joining them is a good thing. What happened in this match basically was nobody listened to Jericho's nonsense. He was trying to coach them.
Oh, that's funny.
And they both just ignore him. Hook started the match off. Hook's my note was Hook's strikes that I was bitching about before continue to improve. His punches look pretty good on this particular show. Hook did a delaying German suplex on fat ass Shane Taylor, which I was like, Jesus, Hook. He's like 140 or whatever he is.
Yeah.
That looked great.
Suspiciously strong.
Eventually Shibata comes in and he's Shibata-ing the shit out of everybody, just wrestling like old Shibata because he's back evidently, doing his version of the haluva kick kind of thing. Big note here was I realized that I don't dislike little short chops if it's Shibata doing them, because somehow when he does them, that sounds like a goddamn thunderclap, because he was doing like alternating like an elbow strike and a little short chop, but the chops were like pow, pow, pow. Guy's amazing.
Right.
So he's doing this thing. Eventually, Jericho gets frustrated because nobody's listening to him, and he kind of grabs Hook and brings him like away from the ring, kind of towards the ramp, and he's just berating him like, "You guys, you need to be listening to me." And while he was doing this, like, going in on Hook for quite a while, Shibata is essentially stranded by himself, and eventually they just triple team him, get the better of him, and get the pin because it was like 3-on-1. So Jericho being a douche has cost them the match. And then Hook was like, "Hey, screw you, Jericho," and he went in to help Shibata, to help him up, and they got the babyface cheers or whatever. But at least we got some story with the Jericho thing compared to the past like 3 weeks, where I was like, I don't know what they're trying to do here.
That's at least good. There's something to do there.
Yeah, it's a story now.
Yeah. That's a character I can get behind of Chris Jericho, like the out of touch
it's a heel that like you need to listen to me because I'm the legend.
But he also proved he was kind of right there, right?
Well, I mean, he got his teammate triple teamed because he pulled his other teammate away from the match.
The opposite.
He will, as a heel, see it as him proving himself right. But which will be great as a heel.
That's when I try to riff when not watching the show. I'm like, oh no, you did the right thing, right?
But like, no, you're right. That'll be his perspective.
Yeah.
It's like, you two idiots would have listened to me. And in truth, it was him being an idiot and pulling, because they were dominating the match until he had his little tantrum.
Right. Okay. I like it.
I'm also happy that we're done with, at least for now, with Judas. It was great for a while. Like, for years, it was great that the crowd did the whole thing, but it got tedious after a while. So I'm happy to have Lionheart back.
You write your own entrance music. I have to assume Fozzy has put out a record since the Judas record.
Yeah.
Maybe push another single.
Have you listened to Fozzy's other music?
Try.
I wouldn't personally choose any of it as my entrance music.
See what Rick Rubin's up to, and see if he can get a nice tasty jam to walk you down to the ring to.
You got Mikey Ruckus, use him. Just but he's just using the old Lionheart theme. That's fine.
Fine. Maybe Judas will cover it.
And it is like he's an out of touch. Like, that's who I still am, Lionheart. It fits that too. Like,
yeah, that's fair. Okada wrestled.
We got a Dustin backstage doing his Dustin promo. So they are going to do the match, the Samoa Joe Eliminator. I kind of wish they would have made this just a title match. Like, Dustin's got enough wins that he's on the rankings. They could have done it. It would have fit close enough, and the stakes would have felt different than they did, because it ended up being a great match. But I think it should have been a title match rather than an eliminator.
Well, doesn't it?
That's a great promo here.
Doesn't an eliminator mean if Dustin loses, he can never challenge?
Can't challenge Joe.
During that title
during
reign?
that particular reign.
And big week for the Rhodes family. Maybe just give him a title match to have a nice little parallel.
Exactly. That's kind of what I meant. Was like, I would have then had that 1% belief there's a chance, because, oh shit, his brother just won.
Yeah.
So like, it would have fit. I mean, I'm sure that's why they put him on the main event, even in an eliminator.
Yeah.
But just make it a title match. It doesn't hurt
what
anything.
you're saying makes infinitely more sense. Yeah.
That was really my only, and his promo here was great. It's Dustin doing a promo.
Right.
Then we got Okada, who's still just wildly over. He's being presented as like the opposite of Mercedes Moné, basically, just like the biggest deal ever. And crowd was immediately just chanting Okada the entire time.
Yeah.
He's facing a jobber, enhancement talent. I didn't be racist against enhancement talent. Cristiano Argento. Okada, he feels like a big deal. He's incredible at working the cameras. He just like knows where every camera is and does his little smirk, his douchebag like Jack thing. I mean, this was obviously a squash. It's Cristiano Argento. I'm not sure he got any offense in.
Sounds like a brand of shredded cheese.
The only things, there have been guys in AEW in the past that were like working that role, that then, this is back in the like Elevation days, would go on that for a while and then they'd become a thing. Like, they would become a thing. Cristiano Argento, I don't think is gonna, but who knows? Always a chance.
I mean, well, still wondering what they're doing with what the fuck was it? Was the guy that they got a clean win over Jericho?
He's in Top Flight now.
The fuck's his name? He's got the broccoli haircut.
Yeah,
all the douchebags.
It's the other guy from Top Flight.
He's doing really well. We can't even remember his goddamn
Action
name.
Andretti.
Yeah,
I knew it would get there. Okada then grabs the mic after he hits his like beautiful dropkick Rainmaker, just annihilates this dude.
that was it.
It was he like
It was a 2-move match.
it was basically it was 3 moves maybe 3 or
Nice.
4.
Good.
I mean it was like 18 seconds long. It was a beatdown.
I like that.
The dude didn't get any offense in, and Okada like all it took like he hit him with a lariat or something, and then he just went over by the ropes, did his thing where he's looking at all the cameras and smirking and like get a load of this asshole, and then the dude like got up. Tried to do something. Okada hit him with that standing drop kick that's beautiful, and just immediately picked him up and Rainmakered him. Pinned him. He was rubbing his continental belt like sexually, which I also enjoy. How much he loves his title, like having his belts. Then he grabs a mic and like in perfect English accepts Pac's challenge and like talks a little bit of shit, but like he didn't. I had no idea Okada could speak English at all. I mean, I guess I should have known that he's like been buds with the elite guys for forever. Probably would, and like Kenny Omega speaks perfect Japanese.
Yeah.
So it probably like would have been some carryover just there. But
Right.
I'm still shocked every time Okada talks, and I'm like, hey, you barely even have an accent. Like,
Yeah.
It's amazing. Pac comes down, and immediately just seeing those two like together, I'm like, oh yeah, we get that too. So it's like Ospreay Danielson, Pac Okada. Then for a moment I got pissed off again because I was like, why did you have to make me think about other bullshit when we have all this amazing stuff coming up?
Yeah.
And
Didn't the Bucks
then come out. This is where I noticed Nicholas's incredible suit.
Yeah.
They attack Pac because Pac is up against their elite brethren.
Heels
guy.
got a heel.
This is where like I was expecting more of it, but there was some like light CM Punk chance here. And as well there probably should have been, but
Yeah.
But it was like a battle. FTR then
I was reading. I read the rest of the show. I didn't get to watch it. Did Okada do a unprotected chair shot? Does that ring a bell?
in the subsequent battle there was like a
Oh, that didn't come up yet. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
like it was in this part that I'm talking about
Gotcha.
now, like
Okay.
the schmazzy
My bad.
end of it chair. It was like it wasn't an unprotected chair shot like Cody to the back of his skull one.
Gotcha.
It was like the ones
Okay.
we've seen recently where it's more like a talking of a toss.
So it
thing.
touched the head, but it's
Yeah.
not. Okay, because the way the report I read, it's like someone's got to tell Okada that's not how we do chair shots anymore.
Unless I missed something,
You would have noticed it.
Well, I mean, like I was
astute.
kind of pissed off right now when watching this, and I didn't watch the entire episode back again. So it is possible.
That's fair.
But I did see a chair shot, and it wasn't like egregious.
Okay.
Remember that one Cody took from the chairman that like he still has that scar on his head? Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it's Cody asking for
No, but
himself,
it was worth it. It led to such a great fucking promo.
Hey, all things led to Cody is currently. The road he was on, that road led him here. So, like all of it. We get the Bang Bang Gang on a backstage segment. Like, cut a good promo. I'm still so pissed off about the Jay White thing they did with stupid Billy Gunn last week that it was hard for me to think about anything but that. Jay White asks the Ass Boys to get him a match. He doesn't care who. On Rampage, of course, because Rampage is...
What? I got to look at the card for Rampage to see how many matches. Rampage is 1 hour long, right? With commercials?
Like,
It's
that's
not?
what they say it is. I don't know in reality how it possibly could be.
Yeah. Hang on. You keep going.
Next thing was Renee Paquette out on stage hosting a champagne championship toast.
Okay.
It was very strange. I mean, I guess it fits with Tony Storm's character, but it was Thunder Rosa out first and then Tony Storm, and they were supposed to do their champagne toast. And essentially, this was all just to have Tony Storm able to throw champagne on Rosa's face and like kind of wipe her face paint off.
Yeah.
Because that's the feud they're doing. And then Deonna Purrazzo came out to like kind of make the save. You got a lot more. There are a ton of other women that I would rather see in this spot than Thunder Rosa.
Doesn't Thunder Rosa, and I hate to say, I'm going to get a immediate pushback from you, but like, I think the Bucks are getting there too. I think Pac is getting, like, it just seems like there's a very clear old guard, new generation kind of division. Like Thunder Rosa's
I don't know
definitely
if
in
it's
there.
divided, but like,
Not, it's not
I'll say like originals. Like definitely I would put Pac in the Bucks
And like
Rosa.
you have all these new people coming in where
Yeah.
you're like, I'd rather watch the new people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I also think Rosa's lost a step too.
Sure.
But
But
the injuries have mounted, and I think that's what's happened.
I think that's what's plagued all the OGs big time. Like even
Yeah.
Pac, like
another great, brilliant move it was for the Bucks to do this now, where they can alter their in-ring style too to make it not quite as impactful.
sure. And like just a fresh presentation because Thunder Rosa, same presentation since day one. Pac, same presentation since
and
day
it's
one.
tough with Thunder Rosa doing that same presentation when it was the hard hitting thing back when the lights out, and she can't really do that anymore.
Right.
I'd rather see even Anna Jay. I'd rather see her like feuding with Toni Storm. If it's like a placeholder feud, give it to Anna Jay.
I don't remember what Thunder Rosa smelled like, but I remember her thinking she did smell fantastic. Not quite as good as Kenny Omega, but no one can.
The only thing I liked really from the segment was that Renee, when she was like trying to get Thunder Rosa's attention to like, here, have your champagne. She called her Thunder, and I was like, wouldn't you call her Rosa?
Yeah,
it was weird. Thunder, here, Thunder.
Jim Norton, the comic, he went on the Jim and Sam show on Sirius. Sam Roberts, primetime Sam Roberts. He's a correspondent for WWE now, and he would call CM Punk. He would call him CM. And it made me want to throw my coffee at my radio.
I like Sam Roberts. I'm glad I
No.
realized.
Jim Norton said.
Oh, Norton.
Norton would go, hey, CM.
Well, that kind of fits Norton's weird aesthetic. CM.
I digress.
CM.
Look how we see you're upset, right? Just
it's great. How terrible it is. The next match was the one that like really I got super pissed about because Anna Jay and Mariah May had a really, really good match. I'm super happy to see Anna Jay continuing because usually what they had been doing in AEW for the previous 3 or 4 years was if a woman like was on TV, you wouldn't see her again for 2 months. They do a rotation constantly. We're getting Anna Jay now like consistently and also wrestling matches consistently on Dynamite. And a really good match here for Anna Jay, Mariah May. I won't do spot for spot, but both very hard hitting. You know, Mariah May is always hard hitting. Anna Jay has consistently been getting better and better. And she actually, for parts of this match, was the harder hitting of the two. She threw a couple of like Takeshita-esque like forearm elbow kind of things. She hit Mariah May with a back elbow in the corner that was like Andrade almost. It was just brutal. And then did like a spinning in the same sequence, then did like a spinning heel kick also in the corner. And again, big crack noise, like great. Mariah May then like got a little bit of offense in, but she had to essentially do like a victory roll, like a flash pin, which was cool because like Anna Jay lost the match, which, you know, you kind of have to do because you're building Mariah May towards her eventual feud with Toni Storm. Yeah. But like Anna Jay looks strong as fuck here.
Anna Jay can lose every week and she's not going to lose steam.
As long as she keeps improving in the ring like she has been. Yeah. Like she's got a great look too, but like she just gets better and better. And I was very upset for a long time that they did not ever put her on TV. And you'd see her and you'd be like, oh, yeah, Anna Jay's here. And she's like got a lot of potential. Well, you wouldn't see her for months.
She got sucked in the Jericho vortex.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
She really did.
I mean, and honestly, AEW for a long time was terrible with consistently getting women, any one particular woman on TV multiple weeks in a row. They're good at it now this last year because we got like Sky Blue and Julia and Willow and Statlander and, you know, you got to do that for us to get invested. Yeah. And they seem to understand that. But Anna Jay looked good. Next was the worst Mercedes Moné thing they've done yet. I kind of feel like they're like intentionally trying to sabotage her or something. My note was because she like a backstage promo that is the most scripted sounding thing I've ever heard in AEW.
She's a shit promo in the first place.
She's a bad promo to start. Yeah. If they really did give her own writer, if that lady came in to do her, they need to fire her. She's an awful writer. Yeah. Because this was a terrible promo. I just get angrier and angrier every time I see one of my favorite wrestlers on earth doing everything but wrestling. And like terrible promo, nonsense. Lights went out and there was like skirmish noises. Lights came back on and Mercedes was on the ground. They also announced that it's not going to be her first match is not going to be till Double or Nothing. So like,
well, I was going to say Dynasty's in 10 days. It's on the 21st.
No, Double or Nothing. What? So I get to like watch my girl make me like her less every week until
this is like what you would teach in a class how to not write a fucking story.
Absolutely. It's the anti-Okada. Wow. If you look exactly how they have booked Okada, And like, because you can't say like, go do it like Osprey, because not everybody can go do 7-star match immediately.
Yeah.
But like how they've done Okada,
But Okada,
have him in the ring, even if it's short matches, you make him look like a star.
Yeah.
And she is very good at looking like a star while she's in the ring wrestling and stuff. So like,
I mean, Okada has had 7-star matches.
Yes, he has.
But no, that's the point. They don't have to just have 7-star Okada alongside 7-star Osprey.
Exactly.
Like they can have them do different shit.
Yeah. And we also know that Sasha Banks has had great matches.
Also, who the fuck? So first off, they had her. Oh, are they waiting to put her and Willow together at Double or Nothing? They're giving Sasha nothing to do until she fights.
Felt like it was so weird and terrible that I was like, for the first time, I'm like, they may actually be trying to turn her heel here. It felt like it might be that the direction they're going in. I'm like, I don't know.
That's the day they were going from day one.
Yeah, but it felt like they were accidentally doing it from day one. This one felt a little bit more purposeful, but still, it was terrible.
She's not a likable person.
I'd rather
on
not
TV.
her have. The character she plays is awful if you're not backing it up in the ring.
So did I hear?
It's 100% a heel.
Did I hear you correctly that there was a lights out attack on her?
Yeah, I don't.
So now they're doing another fucking mystery.
Yeah.
This company loves mysteries.
It was. I think it was because they wanted to do something physical without actually having her get physical.
Yeah, but now we it's a whodunit, right?
Yeah, but nobody cares. So because she's not wrestling till Double or Nothing.
But that's the worst part. Like they do whodunits in this company, and they fucking suck at paying them off.
Well, I mean, one famously, but I wouldn't mind if this was like a Stokely or something. Like,
no,
let's do that.
It's the big match is her and Willow because that's who she's the only person she's really acknowledged since she's been in the company.
I'll give him. I will give him in 2024. Like, let it play out a little bit, a couple of weeks. But really, I don't care because I know that she's not wrestling until Double or Nothing, so it doesn't matter if they pay it off or not to me. I just want to get her in the ring. I don't even care if it makes sense. Just open Dynamite next week with her in the ring across from Anna Jay and give them 10 minutes.
We will find out on May 26th.
It's so long. That is so long from now to have her getting segments for nothing on TV that we could have put another quick little... I don't know, Red Velvet match or something. On anybody. It was a waste of time.
Yeah.
It was my second most hated thing on the show was the Mercedes. Almost my first hated. That's how bad this was.
That's high praise in the inverted way.
Yeah. Then we got the Joe versus Dustin Rhodes match, which was just a great match. It was just a
goddamn banger.
Beat the shit out of each other. Yeah, but just brutal as you think. Dustin took a header to the ring post outside and busted open. Almost looked hard way, but I think he bladed. Yeah. But Dustin always looks great when he's bleeding and he's got the red paint and then the blood going through his hair and stuff. And Joe looked like a monster, but then Dustin got a ton back. He brutal offense he was throwing out there for a good portion of the match to the point that eventually Joe got the win by cheating. He didn't just straight up beat him. He had a chain that he had carried out to the ring. He wrapped around his hand. Referee saw that. He did that intentionally, get the ref's attention, so he could throw that down. And while the ref was getting rid of the chain, he grabbed the title belt and he clocked Dustin with it. Got the 1, 2, 3, and then puts Dustin in the coquina clutch. And really well shot thing here. It was a close up on Joe holding the coquina clutch. And a house call from Swerve just comes out of nowhere and cracks him right in the head. Didn't even know Swerve was in the ring because of the tight shot on Joe. And he knocked the shit out of him. And we closed on that. Basically, Swerve then wrapped the chain around his fist and used that to fight Joe off, continuing his unhinged, best kind of Swerve character thing. Mm-hmm. So... closed the show strong, leading again towards the pay-per-view. My end note was essentially the same thing that we talked about at the beginning. Decent, good to solid Dynamite with one dumb thing that just pulled everyone's focus away from the stuff that would have been better served to have the focus on.
So leading into the pay-per-view, we have for the world title 10 days away. We're going to cover this again next week. We'll give our preview and our official picks and all that next week. It's the AEW World.
You're going to win my belt back.
Yeah, we'll
talk about that on the WWE.
Yeah, on the WWE episode, we're going to have the inaugural crowning of our Blue Thunder Pod. What are we calling this? Just championship? Do we have a
bragging rights title?
Bragging rights. Yeah.
I also it's the side plate says "Good for You." It could be the "Good for You" title.
Yeah. Initially, it is who had the most predictions correct for WrestleMania, and we will crown our inaugural champion. Also, we will be severing some toes, as is tradition.
Foreskin
also. AEW World Championship. This is all for Dynasty. It's Samoa Joe versus Swerve Strickland.
Yeah.
The AEW Women's World Championship matches. Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
They should beat the shit out of each other.
They should.
Though,
If Thunder can bring it, that'll be great.
AEW TBS Championship match. Julia Hart versus Willow Nightingale.
Fuck yeah, 2 women's matches on a pay-per-view, baby.
Yeah, and they're both like, everyone can go.
That one I'm very
when
excited
Thunder
for.
Rosa is the weakest of the 4, you're like, well, you know, that's a good night.
And with her, really, it's just because I think that she's been banged up so much.
Yeah.
That she's not as, not
she
quite
was
as,
almost supposed to not come back. I believe,
yeah.
So. AEW World Tag Team Championships is the Young Bucks versus FTR.
Yeah.
Finals of the Tag Team Tournament. AEW Continental Championship matches. Kazuchika Okada? Do I say his name right? I never said
correct.
his name. Okay,
that's correct.
I'm trying. Okada versus Pac. Wait, what is it? Is it a hard or a soft day?
I always said Pac, but now that you mention it,
Pac?
They say Pac on TV too, and I've always called him Pac, but it's an homage to X-Pac, right?
I don't
and
know.
He's Pac.
Okay.
Or Tupac, who's also Pac.
Yeah.
But everybody calls him Pac.
Yeah. So Pac. Okay, so Kazuchika Okada versus Pac.
He's got that goofy Geordie accent too, so who knows?
Yeah. Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson.
Fuck yeah.
Which, Jesus Christ.
Are they closing with that, or are they closing with the world title?
World title, they have to.
Oh, it's going to be hard to follow.
What they're good at.
You're right, but it's going to be hard to follow.
Usually the last 3 matches of AEW
pay-per-views
make you unable. Like, you don't need coffee.
As long as you got as long as the crowd, and crowds, it's the hardcore fans they stay up for it.
They don't do the death spot match in this
they
company.
really don't.
And then Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe versus the House of Black.
Like, I don't care as much, but I like everybody involved, so it should be good cool down match.
There is nothing bad on this card.
No, there's not.
There's no filler. And they have one more. Well, hang on. Rampage started yesterday, so by Friday we'll have. Here's the shocker. I pulled up the card for Rampage. It's 4 matches. It's Cool Hand Ange versus Zach Knight.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. It's Zach Knight. Orange Cassidy versus Alex Reynolds. Jay White versus Matt Sydal, and Julia Hart versus Layla Hirsch.
So that Sydal's the guy that the
Layla Hirsch.
Yeah, she's the.
She still
Polish.
works there? I know who she is, but
probably
they pushed her to the moon a couple years ago.
Yeah, I've seen her like a couple of times here and there. I think she was like in the Ring of Honor alternate universe for a long time.
I see. So
like feuding with Athena.
Yeah.
Wait, they need to bring Athena over, by the way. Like, she's been their best Ring of Honor performer for too long to not get essentially the main roster call up. Like,
yeah. For the sake of
shit, give her Mercedes Moné against Athena for that first match. That'd be a banger.
That's fine. Yeah. For the sake of all the titles having pretty decent builds for the ladies right now, let's keep somebody who really like.
That's true, and I'm happy with
keep her in
They
limbo.
have 2 pay-per-view matches. They got stories going.
Yeah.
My favorite stable. So yeah,
you think they're going to add anything else? You see anything else coming down the pipe?
It's Tony Khan. So yeah, I don't know what. I haven't really given it much thought yet. But. Probably. I mean, Christian's got some time off right now, so they're not going to do anything with him.
But they got to do something with Jay White, right? And
I hope so.
Maybe
that's it.
Jay White, Billy Gunn too.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
and like a definitive Jay White victory.
Shotgun on a pole match.
Yeah. Yes. I want that actually. Yeah. Even though it'll bring up bad memories of that fucking match last week. But, but yeah, probably it'd probably be Bang Bang Gang adjacent. At least probably Jay White versus Billy Gunn.
Something with
or they just do the unification.
That'd be great.
Title match.
Oh,
they could do that.
I hope so.
Let's say we expect them to do that.
I'm good with zero build for that match just to get it out of the fucking way.
Yeah, just do it. Like, I mean, there's already been enough build. Billy Gunn versus Jay White is enough build for me.
Yeah.
It's a few. They feud. They broke up. They hate each other.
Yeah.
Just do the title for title.
You know what they should do after that match? Throw all 6 titles into the trash can and resume to just 2-on-2 normal. Because there's so many good tag teams. Like,
I'm with you. I'd rather have just a tag division.
Oh.
But if you have to have trios, 1 set of titles, please.
1000%.
No.
Well, yeah, and defend one of them because they're not defending any of them.
No.
So everything's looking good.
But yeah, that pay-per-view should kick ace.
Let's just cut the fat that needs to be cut.
Let's pretend that the dumbass shit you did this week never happened.
Yeah.
Just like you pretended that The Rock was never going to be a babyface when he first came back. Same playbook.
Look how well it worked
We
for
didn't
the
do
other
it.
guys.
Yeah, pivot, and you got all kinds of good stuff going for you.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to shift focus onto all that stuff.
Yes.
Do that. I don't want to have to talk to anybody about this topic ever again.
No. So that's AEW.
That's Dynamite. Please tune in to our WWE podcast, Blue Thunder Pod, which will be dropping also Friday morning. We're going to be doing our recap of WrestleMania, what our picks, how they went, our thoughts on the show, and then breakdown of Raw. So thanks for joining us, guys. See you again next week.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.